Our second speaker of today, Professor Dr. S. Neelamegham, was among the select few to be invited and had a rare opportunity to interact closely with Gurudev for a week. Professor Neelamegham is the former head and dean of the Faculty of Management Studies of the University of Delhi and has also served as president of the NIILM Center for Management Studies. His association with Chinmaya Mission goes way back several decades. He continues as a sincere student of Geeta, attending Sri Naresh Babu's study group in Bangalore. He will be speaking on Geeta and the pursuit of happiness based on chapter 2 and 5 of Bhagavad Gita. With this, I warmly invite Professor to address us.
Pranams to all Acharyas, Swamini, and all those who are present here. I am very thankful to Sri Seshadri and also Naresh Babu for making this opportunity to participate in this function. I am also thankful to Sandhya Santaram, who has been very helpful, constant touch with me, and I am very grateful to her for her help. Now the question is, Brahmanandaji Swamiji used to come to Delhi. When I was at Delhi, all of us were very anxious to listen to his lectures. Our auditorium will be full, no place for even standing. But so much we loved him or liked his lectures, so much it was exciting, thrilling, and I cannot forget that. And also his songs were so enchanting. We were very happy. It all is fresh in my memory. And so I am thankful to Swamiji, and also I am blessed to make this presentation before him. Puja Gurudev was the greatest spiritual leader. God-given gift not only to India but the whole world. I bow before him and seek his blessings for the success of this yajna and for the welfare of all. And in fact, I have taken this topic, pursuit of happiness, which was a favorite topic of Puja Gurudev. So, everyone, whether young or adult, high or low, rich or poor, more than anything else, seek happiness. Aristotle defined purpose of life is happiness. But let us pause a moment and ask ourselves, are we really happy? We are living in a world of extraordinary conveniences and comforts. Instant food, instant communication, ever-present social media, limitless objects, endless entertainment. But in spite of all this, why is it people suffer so much from anxiety, stress, depression, and isolation? Why is it happiness is fast declining, especially among the youth? If happiness is our objective, why are we feeling restlessness? Bhagavan Krishna answers all these questions beautifully after profound analysis. He asks a simple question: where are you searching for happiness? We say we believe happiness lies outside, in objects, in people, in situations. And we are guided by a hidden formula that is called if then happiness model. If I get promotion, I will be happy. If my daughter gets married, I will rejoice. If my wife only listens to me, I will be delighted. So life is subtle because it gives a different kind of a message to us. Whatever you want, even if you get, happiness does not stay for long. So immediately the mind shifts the goalpost and it is pushing us to chase something better, something newer, something bigger. So our happiness is always pushed into the future, leaving us perennially chasing and permanently remaining disappointed. Lord Krishna says, you are happiness. What happened to you? He says, sorry, we are in the model. If and then happiness model, we are trapped. And only thing we have learned in our life is how to remain unhappy all the time. So, Krishna says, you are searching for happiness in a wrong place. So he says that you are searching, that's not a correct, place where you have got. So he says that sparshaja bhoga yehi samsparshaja bhoga dukkhayenava eyate adyantavanta kaunteya nateshu ramate buddha. Because first thing he says is that happiness, is it in the object? Is it in the object? So here, sparshaja bhoga. When you want to see something beautiful, when you want to taste something sweet, pleasure arises. But you remove the object, pleasure disappears. Is happiness in the object? Puja Gurudev says no. He gives an interesting example. He says a South Indian enjoys coffee, of course, even in hottest summer. But if you go to North, they prefer tea. But if you go still further to Punjab, they put it down, coffee and tea, and they want a lassi with full cream, that too in the early morning. If happiness were in the object, everybody must enjoy the same thing equally. But it's not so. So Puja Gurudev says, happiness is not in the object, it is only in your mind. Similarly, you also find Adyantavantaha. That is, it has a beginning and an end. Whatever you enjoy, it has got a beginning and an end. Think of a sweet which you like most. When you take the first bite, it's wonderful. Second bite, okay. Fifth, sixth bite, what happens? You say enough. Because law of diminishing returns starts operating. The fact is that your capacity to enjoy any pleasure at any time, at any place in this world is always limited. You purchase a cell phone, first day thrilling. After 6 months, it becomes normal. After a year, you throw out because a new model has come. So Krishna says, what begins must end. What ends does not give you lasting happiness. So that is what you find. And does desire lead to fulfillment? Does it lead to fulfillment? No. They only multiply. King Yati's story is the best illustration. King Yati was cursed with the old age at his prime youth. So he borrowed youth from one of his sons and then enjoyed all the worldly pleasures. After enjoying all the worldly pleasures and excitement, he declared, the desire cannot be satisfied by enjoyment. It only grows stronger, just like the fire is fed by ghee. So worldly pleasures are not fulfilling. They only get intensified. That is the reason why when Nachiketa approached Yamaraja gave him all the worldly pleasures, heavenly pleasures. But Nachiketa said, no, these pleasures I do not want because they are temporary. They wear away the senses. May they be with you. But I want the knowledge which is eternal. That was wisdom. That is what you find. And another thing they say is, that is a question of why is it that pleasures are considered to be wombs of sorrow? That he explains in the chapter 2, 62, 63. Dhyayato vishayam pumsaha sangasteshu pajayate sanga sanjayate kamaha kama krodo bijayate kroda bhavati sammohaha sammohat Shruti Bibramaha, Shruti Samshat, Buddhinasaha, Buddhinasat Pranashyati. Because here, Vishaya Dhyana, everything starts with Vishaya Dhyana. We find it difficult to have Ishvara Dhyana, but it's very easy to have Mani Dhyanam, House Dhyanam, Coffee Dhyanam, or beauty dhyanam. But once you dwell on an object for a length of time, you develop attachment. Attachment leads to desire. In the words of Puja Gurudev, when your desire gets intensified, you develop fancy for the object. You believe that life has got no meaning without that object. You want to embrace it, you want to enjoy it, you want to rejoice it. So, what happens? Two outcomes. One, your desire gets satisfied. When your desire gets satisfied, then you want to enjoy it again and again. That leads to addiction. That is why you have got coffee addicts, food addicts, drug addicts, cell phone addicts, stock market addicts, not to speak of drunken addicts, smoking addicts. But on the other hand, if your desire is not satisfied, you get anger. In anger, you destroy anyone who stands in the way. So anger leads to confusion, confusion leads to loss of memory leads to demolition of intellect ultimately leads to self-destruction. Oscar Wilde makes a very beautiful statement. He says there are only two tragedies in life. One tragedy is not getting what you want. The other tragedy is getting it. Puja Gurudev says in a different way, he says that if your desire is satisfied, it breeds more desires. If your desire is not satisfied, it leads to anger. In both the cases, it binds the mind. So, all starts with the idea of the thought. And so, Krishna says, beware of your thoughts. Be deliberate in your actions. If you are not vigilant in your actions, what happens? Even the sages and saints, they fall prey to sensual process. And in fact, Krishna says, Yatato chabi kaunteya purushasya vipastitaha indriyani pramatini haranti prasavam manaha. Because senses are turbulent. Just like storms carry away a boat on water, senses carry away the intellect of even sages and saints. Look at Vishwamitra, the greatest sage. It is only the kind of sound of the ankle bells of Apsara Menaka broke all the tapas of Vishwamitra. Dharmaputra, he had only weakness of gambling that led to the story of Mahabharata. Don't say that it is only saints and sages, it affects animals also. Because if you take all the animals, you will find, deer, for example, it has got a weakness of sound. So by music they catch. If you take moth, it is eyes go after the flame and get destroyed. If you take honeybee, it has got a weakness of similar, get trapped within the flower. If you take fish by bait, elephant by touch, all these animals, one sense destroys each creature. But what about us? We have got five senses. I tell you, we are surrounded by all the objects which are designed to trigger our pleasure centers. They all stimulate our all five senses and take us to what is called modern dopamine trap. Take cell phone. Right from the time you get up from the bed till the time you go back, you are not parting with the cell phone. You carry the cell phone from room to room, in the buses, in the cars, in the plane, in the streets, in the lifts. Everywhere you are carrying the cell phone. Silently it has become your companion, constant companion. In colleges, for example, a student receives 220 text messages a day. He has to look at the cell phone every 4 minutes. And he cannot concentrate on any activity for more than a minute. All the studies show they affect the mental health, your cognitive capacity, and affect and create stress and strains not only for the youth but also among the adults. So we have to understand why all of us are under stress most of the time. Easily we can understand. Krishna, what he told thousands of years ago is valid now. It is not ancient, but it is eternally valid. But only one thing you have to understand, Lord Krishna is very much bothered about us. He's worried about us. He asks the question, Asantasya kutasukam. When your mind is not peaceful, how can you be happy? Puja Gurudev says very beautifully, happiness is in your mind. If your mind is agitated, you will be only full of sorrow. If it is less agitated, there is some happiness. But if it is least agitated and it is calm and quiet, bliss shines. Without peace, there is no happiness. With peace, happiness becomes our real nature. There is a story called musk deer. The musk deer smelt the fragrance, divine fragrance. It wanted to find out the source of fragrance. So they went helter and skelter in the forest. And then it got exhausted and collapsed without realizing that the fragrance came only from its own navel. We are like musk deer. We search for happiness in power, position, name, money, riches, without realizing that happiness is within ourselves. In the outside world, when you go in search of happiness, it is like searching, it is chasing a butterfly. More you chase, more it escapes. The real happiness does not come riches, money, splendor, and grandeur. It does not come from even relationship. It does not come from achievements, success, whatever you achieve. It's not possible to get. Therefore, real happiness comes when you discover your inner self, full of peace, love, and contentment. It shines when your heart is free from greed and your mind is free from pride and prejudice. Swami Vivekananda beautifully says, we are hypnotized by the false happiness of the world. You dehypnotize. World pleasures are enchanting, but they enslave you. They excite you today, but they disappear tomorrow. Don't confuse pleasure with peace. Pleasure fades away, but peace endures. So here, a very beautiful thing that is uh, so Shankaracharya says a very beautiful sloga where he says, I will tell you, Yogaratavo, Bhogaratavo, Sangaratava, Sangavihinaha, Yasya Brahmani Ramate Chittam, Nandati Nandati Nandateva. You revel in yoga, you revel in pleasure. You be in society or you be in solitude. But the only one whose mind abides in self really enjoys. He is happy in all places, he is happy at all times, he is happy under all situations. So Bhagavan Krishna says, you Shanto, I am Atma. Bhagavan Krishna says, he says that the peace is the very nature of our innermost self. So turn the gaze inward, not outward. That is the message he gives. In fact, Bhagavad Gita is not only philosophical, but he gives many practical insights. I will identify only 5 of them quickly. I will do that. Number 1, it's practical. You can examine yourself. Happiness is your choice. Nobody can make you happy. Even if somebody makes you happy, it's going to be temporary. So seek happiness more and more in mind and less in worldly objects. The choice is yours. Second, happiness depends upon the quality of your thoughts. Beware of your thoughts, control your thoughts, and sense also you have to control. Because Puja Gurudev used to say, nobody can say, I am disturbed, but I am happy. I have a disturbed mind, but I am happy. Similarly, I am very calm and quiet, but I am not happy. Not possible. So there is a correlation between the two. So mind control, sense control becomes extremely important. Thirdly, to be happy is to have, to be happy is to have to be in tune with God. Manmana bhava mat bhaktaha. Krishna says, you fix your mind on me and give up your sense of doership. No problem. I will take care of all of you. He's very generous. He's very, very generous. You can't get any generous person like that. Generous. He's a God, generous. Therefore, he says that you have to fill up your heart with faith, love, and emotion. Krishna himself says it is only love and devotion can provide a bridge that connects the finite with the infinite. So that is very important. And also another important thing is expand your heart and develop universal love for all. There is one person who said, I have a compassion for rocks and mountains. I have a compassion for lakes and rivers. I have compassion for animals. But I can never have compassion with my neighbor. No, that is not the case. Universal love means it has to be spontaneous, unconditional, and all embracing. And a very beautiful message our beloved Guru Brahmanandaji gives, which is very, very important for us to take. Because in one of his talks, Swami Brahmanandaji says, the purpose of life is distribution of happiness. Nothing but distribution of happiness. He says, look at the earth, space, sun, moon, plants, trees, the whole nature continuously give you, but without expecting anything in return. So happiness does not depend upon what you get, but it depends upon what you give. Happiness does not depend upon accumulation of things, but happiness depends upon distribution and sharing with others. So Swamiji says very beautifully, give and give, you will become more and more happy. The slogan he gives is beautiful slogan, I think, which we have to implement in everyday life. He says, give and share, love and serve, spread smiles everywhere, and be happy forever. What a beautiful message. I was thrilled to hear his talk. By chance, I was listening to him, and a wonderful thing. We must be very grateful to him for giving this piece of advice. Puja Gurudev, of course, sums up everything. He says, rise above the nature, rise above the mind, realize the nature, complete, content, free. And he says, you are yourself happiness. And therefore he says, you go discover your true nature, realize your Satchit Ananda Surupa. Puja Gurudev wants us to realize Satchit Ananda Surupa. Not tomorrow, not day after tomorrow, but now, at this moment itself. When the peace dawns, bliss shines. When self is known, our pursuit ends. That is, our pursuit of happiness is done. And that is a message which I find from Puja Gurudev. Hari Om, thank you.
Thank you, Professor Neelamegham, for a very, very thought-provoking talk. Now, it's my pleasure to introduce our third speaker of the day, Srimati Jayashree Mohan. She will be speaking on Secret of Service from chapter 3 of Bhagavad Gita. Jayashree's journey began when she was a child with Balvihar student. She is part of study class